I'm so fun. Woo!
Hey everybody, it is Nathan and Jess Selove with another episode of You Might Be Autistic If. Hey Jess, are you autistic?
I might be.
You might be.
No, actually, I am. Sorry.
She is.
You Might Be Autistic If videos are where we read audience-submitted comments that describe characteristics or sometimes very specific experiences of folks on the autism spectrum. And it's just a good way for us to commiserate, sometimes laugh, sometimes feel empathy towards other autistics.
Yeah. And hopefully with these videos, if you're on the autism spectrum, you will find community. And if you're not on the autism spectrum, then, well, maybe you can learn a few things. So, standard disclaimers, keep in mind, just because you might relate to some of these doesn't automatically mean that you are autistic, and just because you can't doesn't mean that you aren't. You met one autistic?
I'm another autistic.
You met one autistic. Also, as always, if we mispronounce anybody's name, we apologize. Please leave a comment down below to correct us with the phonetic pronunciation, or as Jess would call it, pronunciation.
If YouTube lets us, if you have tried to submit comments and for some reason they disappear, that's not us.
Yeah.
YouTube has been doing this thing where comments just completely disappear. We don't know why. As you're probably aware by now, it seems like comments with the word autism and autistic in them are fine.
That's been happening a little bit less, but it still does sometimes randomly happen.
It does.
But I would like to point out, I still do get those comments on my email, so I still see them, but other people might not be able to see them. Yeah. So, without further ado, you ready to get started?
Okay. All right, this one is from Rotful. You might be autistic if you change the entire layout of your bedroom literally multiple times every single year. Okay.
I actually find that to be more of a neurotypical thing.
No, it's not actually. It's not? So I like changing the layout of things because I spend a lot of time overthinking and figuring out what would be a better layout.
And I hate it when she does that. Like
you can't move anything in our house.
Well, we have an agreement where she decides where things go as long as we keep them there. So like I don't care where things are. I just want things to be like static and, you know, in a routine.
Yeah, so if I don't like the way something is, I have to wait until we move.
This one is from Fironi Duendai. You might be autistic if you have an idea all day and cannot stop thinking about it. Sizzles and jealousy as a writer with ADD, if only.
Obsessive thoughts are pretty common.
Yeah. No, I have issues where I will be obsessing about a project, and then I will do nothing but work on that project for like days. And then when that obsession gets lost, I'll like stop working on it for months.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
You do have that problem. But it's also, for me, I'll get obsessed with specific books or music or TV shows or movies, and I'll just have to keep watching them and looking things up surrounding that, and it will be my obsession for a while, and I won't get tired of it, but I will ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like pausing Game of Thrones every second. Did you know that in the books this?
Shut up!
Oh, no. Look, I can tell who it is.
Shut up!
There's the sigil. I can read the sigil.
Yes!
You know, actually in the books, the sigil is like this. Did you know that?
By the way, that was me reenacting it. That wasn't me actually telling her to shut up just now.
Did you feel like people wouldn't get that?
I just wanted to make sure. You might be autistic if you don't understand reenactments sometimes.
This one is from M. You might be lowercase m, sorry. You might be autistic if you try communicating a lot of stuff and others misunderstand said stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think is kind of interesting because as someone who is a teacher of communication, one of the things that I tell my students is that communication is a two-way street, which means, yes, you need to be competent in saying your message, but in order to be a competent communicator, you have to be good at deciphering other people's message. So we're considered bad communicators because other people can't understand us. Well, maybe they're the bad communicators because they aren't trying to understand us.
That actually brings up a good point, which is something I will struggle with sometimes, especially with neurotypical folks, where they're kind of upset about our communication or lack thereof. And I'm thinking, but I'm abiding by the rules. You know, I have been very reasonable. You're the one who's upset and I can't figure out why. And so they're, you know, enforcing, I guess, communication rules with people, because if I have to live by them, you do too, I guess.
This one is from Abby J. Wood. You might be autistic if you plan to have a relaxing weekend, but then end up planning everything you're doing and following it perfectly.
That sounds relaxing to me.
Then to realize that is how you relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
It's the first
it's that's definitely you. I'm a lot more spontaneous when it comes to like planning, and you hate that. You
I
hate
really do. You should change for me.
Abby J. Wood also says you might be autistic if your desk or workspace/study space has at least 4 fidgets occupying it, and there's no way you can focus without them. I only have 3.
You fidget with everything.
Yeah, but only 3 that
only
are
'cause
specifically for
We
fidgeting.
can't find your fidget spinner.
Yeah, that's because you took it.
No, I didn't.
I'm pretty sure
If
you
I
took it.
did, I would be playing with it right now.
But I have other stuff.
Abby J. Wood also says you might be autistic if your bookshelf at home is organized into categories. Yes, there's a good way to organize your bookshelf, and it goes genre and then by author. But if you are able to keep like series all in the same kind of cover, then what you should have is like a hard book section and a soft cover section. Abby J. Wood also says you might be autistic if you have to leave the kitchen even when in the middle of something every time someone boils the kettle because the rattling sound it makes.
Now, for me, it's
When I'm cooking and shopping.
It's the cutting boards. Like we have cutting boards that are like, what is it, like a rubbery plastic thing?
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, that's like super rough, and anytime something scratches against that,
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you might be autistic if gender is a concept you don't really care about or see as rigidly as most people seem to.
Yep.
Yes and no. Gender expression, like for myself, or enforcing gender expression on other people, I do not care for. I do not like. If someone else is, on the other hand, saying, I feel really strongly about how I express myself and I really like it, and please recognize that and value it, then I'm like, good for you. You look great in your tulle skirt and your combat boots, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting. This was actually something that back in graduate school I did a lot of research on. There's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that people on the spectrum actually tend to have a much more loose idea of what constitutes gender expression, and like their own gender expression. There tends to be a little bit more androgyny, which isn't necessarily to say that people are automatically going to identify with one gender over another, but there does tend to be less like stringent rules in the minds of autistics.
It's always worth knowing, and you can research this, that gender is a social construct. So if you can understand that and therefore not enforce it on other people, then you're fine. You can decide what your gender expression has to be.
It is different than biological sex. All right, up next, frequent commenter Shifty Clutch, which is a name that always sticks out in my brain. If you say inappropriate things to people, don't realize it, and shrug it off as normal, and you happen to offend the person you are talking to, you just might be autistic.
It depends on how I'm feeling. If I am just grumpy that day and I don't have the energy
that day. I love you.
If I'm grumpy and I don't have the energy to deal with navigating social pitfalls, then I might just shrug it off. Like they'll say, I can't believe you just said that, and I'll just say, yeah, but I did, so you should believe it.
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I've never offended anyone in my life. Last one for today.
From Alexandra Windsor, which just sounds like a fancy name.
Yeah, Windsor.
That's fancy.
That's like an action star.
No, Windsor is the kind of tie that you do.
Name's
Like you
Windsor. Alexandra Windsor.
No.
Yeah.
Wings are like the kind of knot you do on a, like, it goes over and then it comes and then you poke it through.
You and I have very different minds.
You might be autistic if you grammatically correct people in your head all the time, whether they are on TV or in person.
And you might be even more autistic if you do it out loud. We
We
do
do
that all the time.
And I'm always so excited when someone else in the like TV show or movie corrects the other person, then I'm like, ha, they've got my back. Nathan and I do often correct who to whom.
Yeah.
And
whenever we see it in a TV show. And we say it out loud, and we often say it at the exact same time.
it's great.
Yeah.
I'm inside your brain.
It's creepy. All right, so that is today's video. Thank you so much to everybody who left a comment down below. And if you want to see more of these videos, you should leave your own You Might Be Autistic If down below. And hopefully at a later date, once we get to it in the queue, because there is definitely quite a queue of them, it'll be read on the show. So as always, if we mispronounced anybody's name, please correct us in the comments down below. And that's today's video. Thank you all for watching.
You just almost took off my ear.
No, I didn't.
I felt it. You touched my ear hairs, sir. No.
That's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other stuff. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon.
And remember, if you are so spatially unaware that you can't realize that you almost emphatically slapped your wife's ear, you might be autistic.
You just might. And you will see me in the next one.